So definitely the Google thing. I mean, speaking at Google was a milestone. It was like surreal. Like even when I got the email, I was like, is this a joke? Because the suffix, you know, is at Google. And they were like, hey, you know, we checked you out, saw your YouTube channel, and we think you'd be perfect for this panel and we'd love to have you come speak. Would you be down for that? And I was like, are you kidding me? And it was surreal. It was a big event, fashion, technology, and education. And so there were a lot of people involved. So our panel was hosted by John Phenom, who's doing product marketing for YouTube and continues to do product marketing for Instagram now. And I'm sitting here in between like Ale, Brittany, and Chloe Couture. And what I remember that night is I wasn't nervous at all just because I've done a lot of speaking. So it felt really kind of natural to me, and I cracked a couple jokes, people laughed, but I really drove home the story of like an immigrant son and what it's like to kind of push through for a creative career. And my realtor was there, Jack. He was like, yo man, I really think that you inspired a lot of kids. And at the end I was doing autographs on kids' shirts. Surreal, a surreal experience. Undiscovered, thanks for the feature. I am Jon Phenom. I am definitely Filipino-American, and I'm a clothing designer. Started designing clothing in 2000, like with my name on a business card, I would say. Started at a company called Osiris. We had a crew, shout out to the Dungeon crew. That was our little gang. It was just this kid who was finishing college and got a chance to design clothing for a skate company in my city, and I was hyped. Later on, I moved to Los Angeles. I was able to become the senior designer at a brand called Ezekiel. It was a massive skate and surf company. You know, I led like 13 categories of men, so accessories all the way to belts and wallets, but anything cut and sew, so knits, trousers, walk shorts, and board shorts, button downs, the whole thing. I was the creative director of a brand called Arisu, really popular menswear line, really good knits. First time leading an art department there, that was a really rich time for me. And then as of late, the last in-house position I held, the brand director at a label called Boulevard. It was a streetwear men's line, and my boss owned like 7 different brands. And so I was really acting as the president before I left the company. I was acting as the president, but I felt that title was weird, so brand director felt like the right title. But running every different aspects, so sales, marketing, production, design, the whole operation. This is where you sell the job to young creatives. And while it's fun to travel, it really takes a lot out of you. And when you know you're there for work, it's kind of a different mindset. So I don't think it's as glamorous as people might think. I first traveled to Busan, Korea for production. That was wild. That's an industrial city, so it was not really like sightseeing. I mean, you're there to pretty much work, lots of fabrics. Northern and southern China, so Guangzhou a ton of times, Shanghai a bunch of times. But Manila, I was there for production with another business partner at one point, and then Colombia I was there. Last summer I was there, and I visited maybe 15 factories inside of Colombia last year. At one point I started speaking in colleges, so I'd be a guest speaker for creative careers or people that were on the track. I have to mention this, I was featured on MTV for like a half second. So the John that grew up to 90s hip hop always celebrates that moment. But I've been flown out to Hawaii to speak with a bunch of brands, been to West Palm, Florida, and I spoke at Huge in Medellin in Colombia last summer as well. I think being Asian, American, and then specifically Filipino has been really important for me. You know, my dad always shares all these stories. He always has a story about how poor he was growing up. But really the story is one of resilience and tenacity. And it's a trait of our people, right? We adapt really well with music, dance, hip hop. I did New Year's in the Philippines not too long ago, and my cousin Jojo out there on my Ampalokio side, he's basically a talent agent. So Amplify is his company, and he's doing major things out there. So it was crazy. He ended up putting me in a couple meetings where we are talking to people who are connected with cats from Hypebeast all the way on that side of the planet, and it was crazy just to see that. And then I could see how our family values from here in Los Angeles and all the way out to Manila are so similar, because he's doing his thing working with social media influencers out there. It kind of brought this resurgence of family and redefining what my Filipino roots mean to me and how I want to connect with that really badly. for years, I'm big on goals, but I'm also big on flexibility, right? So I always say prioritize and execute. And I think you gotta be diligent about achieving the outcome of the plan. What I learned, I think, in my 30s is you just have to be flexible. You have to be really flexible with how you're gonna achieve the outcome, because it's gonna change. And so for years, my goal was, in my 20s, I'm going to forge a multi-million-dollar clothing brand. I'm gonna put all the money in real estate. I'm gonna invest it in real estate and see what happens next, but kind of ride on that brand, but really put my money in real estate. And I mean, the real estate part is there. I've held many titles when I thought I was just gonna run my own brand, but I'm really happy, you know, where I'm at now. You know, consulting with brands, I just get a different challenge every single time. But equally, I think the art in making a smooth workflow is just as interesting to me. So, and a lot of times the art project is the brand and the people that I consult with. So Clothing Brand Academy is, I guess it's my school, but in terms of being like an online educator, CBA is like an extension of where I put my solutions. My most detailed information for a company is gonna be held at CBA, where it can help more people quickly at one time. I think if you're a starting brand, you have an advantage. Definitely when I was 18, internet was very little and we were still printing, so getting press in a magazine was like the whole thing at that time. But now everyone can be a blog, everyone can be the magazine, and it's sort of winning over the hearts of a niche or a culture. People who are embedded with a lifestyle are some of the things that would win more. But in terms of achieving a brand that does some really good things, I've met owners of so many brands that do anything from like 7 grand a month to like 30 grand a month and still running their jobs or doing this as a side hustle and making less than that, but having a really good time with it. So there's different goals. A lot of people would like to live off of it, but I just kind of urge them to know that it's really competitive and really tough. But at the same token, you can do it. There's a lot of brands that make really good money that you wouldn't know. But when I look at people's P&Ls and they're working with me closely, it just makes me realize how embracing a subculture or a niche, or embracing your audience if you're an influencer of some form or another, embracing them and using apparel or merch as the vehicle, I mean, it could just be a win for so many people, right? It's like a win for the consumer and the person putting out the brand and the merch. So it's a cool collaboration in that aspect.